So TEI 2017 was pretty interesting. So it's looking where you're looking?
Yeah.
Nice. So we started out the conference with some workshops, and the first workshop was about bodily experience. And they talked about this thing called felt sense, when the body speaks when you don't have the words. So we used some lily pads and little vibration motors and some heaters to try and put them on different places in the body and experience what it might be like to meditate when you're having this bodily interaction as well. And this was just one example of felt sense and of being able to speak through the body. So that was something very interesting that we'll come back to with meaningful experiences.
Workshop, and we're trying this out. So it's doing like a 3-phase pattern, strong and then weak and then a little bit stronger. And we're just trying it out on different parts of the body to see what's happening and what the different reaction is. So I can feel it quite strongly on my arm. And if I put it on my ear, I can actually hear it more than I can feel it. So kind of interesting what's happening with this.
So we were just at TEI, Tangible, Embodied, Embedded Interaction, and that was great. It was just really embodying all of the things that we've been talking about when we're talking about designing for meaningfulness. And one of the very first things they said when they opened up the conference was that there is a Japanese focus on everyday life. And that's exactly what we're going for when we're designing for meaningfulness. We're designing for everyday life. We're designing for everyday objects, everyday interactions. We're trying to enhance those. We're trying to allow for a meaningful experience and hopefully use everyday objects and interactions as a way to do that. And just a few quick mentions from some of the presentations, which were really interesting. There was a girl, Sarah Nabil, who was talking about weaving technology into the architecture around us. And I really love that idea, because can you imagine the walls like reacting and doing different things? And sometimes when you go to an art experience or installation, you can feel this, but it's not in our everyday architecture around us. So I would really love to see more of that. Then there was this great guy who was talking about uncrafting, and he gave us a new word, which I'm gonna have to look at here. It is froebelin, and froebelin is the word for being busy with arts and crafts, and that's totally something that we're doing when we're talking about traditional craft and putting technology into that somehow. We did this electronic kintsugi workshop in Tokyo just before we came to Yokohama, and that was totally in that line of froebelin. So then we also saw this amazing presentation from Rasmatics. This is the studio that Daido Manabe, I hope that I said that correctly, works at. And they just had so many great ideas, but one of my favorite ones was called backcasting. And backcasting is about showing a vision of what could be possible in order to make it tangible. It's sort of like visualize your dreams and they'll happen, but in this case, it's actually make them as an art installation and show people what's possible. And coming from an art background, that was just completely amazing, and I would love to do more of that with designing meaningful experiences. So then finally there was this group called the Blue Studio. The Blue Studio has made an entire room where you go in and you facilitate conversation through this alien environment where the walls and the floor and stuff like that are interactive, and there's these different objects you can use to interact with the space and with other people. And they had a really interesting point, and their point was that by having this alien environment and different tools than you're used to, then it redefines the roles that everybody has. So the person who is usually the leader is no longer the leader. They have to find a new role because they're in a new environment using new tools. And I think that is definitely something that we can look into when we are trying to design for meaningful experiences. And finally, there was one person called Natalie, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, Natalie Jeremijenko from the X Clinic. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. And she had an interesting presentation, and one of the main points that I got from that was she gave this example of an ice rink where it was designed so that people would sort of skate in a certain pattern, and then every time they intersected, they would meet each other again. So strangers would meet again and again and again, and eventually form some sort of trust or some sort of relationship, because when you see the same people all the time, you get these micro relationships that form. And I think that could just be something really interesting to play with. So overall, TEI was a great experience, lots of really fun, interesting installations and demos, and yeah, I'll definitely be back. Thanks so much, TEI.